Welcome back to another video. Today we have a few stories about kidnapping, as you can tell by the thumbnail and title. The first story is about a subscriber who got kidnapped by a bunch of weird kids. Anyways, if you guys want to send your stories, you can do so on my Instagram or my business email, whichever one you prefer. Without further ado, let's just get into it. I don't know if any of you have ever run into like those people who are just like crazy religious to the point where like they yell at you about your beliefs. Well, the subscriber did. And the subscriber was in a class with this girl, I guess we'll call Ava. We'll call the subscriber Bunny, and I'm guessing that's like, a nickname she has. But anyways, the story begins when she was in a 6th grade class or something like that, and she had a crush on this girl, Ava, but she was scared to say it because there were a lot of like really, really religious people in her class, and it like were really, really religious and hated LGBTQ. But yeah, although there were those type of kids in her class, the teachers were always supportive of her and stuff, which felt pretty good. But I mean, she thought she was going to give up on it, but with the teacher's support, she decided she was finally going to do it. So she decided on this Tuesday afternoon, she was getting ready for school, and she thought to herself, well, I guess today's the day. If I shoot my shot, I guess today's the day. She brought in like a cupcake that her mom brought that was left over, and she decided, you know what, I'm going to give it to her, and I'm just going to see what she says. So she waits until recess, and she went over to like this hidden bush that her and Ava will talk like throughout recess. It was kind of just like their own area where they would just chill. So she walks out behind the bush with this cupcake as Ava approaches, and she basically says like, oh yeah, Ava, I like you, and then she said she liked her back, which was cool, right? And they started dating on Thursday. She told her to meet her by the bush, and she did, and she was really happy that she was dating her, but I guess her parents thought otherwise. Now, Ava's parents were extremely religious and told her that basically the subscriber was Satan in disguise, and she shouldn't date a woman, which is just ridiculous. Like what the hell does that mean? She's Satan in disguise. Like, to me, that just means like they're like they've gone nuts and they're just like absolutely crazy. I mean, I don't know why they can't just be left alone. Like, they're not harming anybody. They're not doing anything wrong. I don't see the big deal. But apparently to Ava's parents, this girl was just Satan and she needed to be locked up right now. And I don't know, bro. This is just ridiculous. Now, at this point, she was only in 6th grade, so she did not have the balls to stand up to her parents. So she just accepted it. Fast forward about a week later, it was time for recess once again. Ava had completely moved away from the school because her parents, I guess, must have forced her to. But Ava still had cousins at the school, and they hung out all the time, so they were chilling. So they were hanging out around the swings, and this kid, we'll call Carlos, walks up to them. And now this was one of the kids that was like crazy in the class. He's one of the weird kids in class. And they all asked him what he wanted. And finally, he responded, Bunny, it doesn't make sense for you to be dating a woman. And then he just starts going on about how her uncle's a pastor and this and that, and he says that like you'll go to hell if you're in the LGBTQ. And of course they kind of just laughed because like they thought he was joking. Like, that just sounds ridiculous. But apparently this kid was dead serious. He was just staring into their souls, and they're just like, are you serious? Then he starts to get angry and he's like, yes, of course I'm serious. You will go to hell, Bunny, if you're in the LGBTQ. I can't believe you. Then he started going on about how her uncle was a pastor and that's bringing shame upon her family or whatever. But I mean, her uncle was a dick, so she never listened to him anyways. Like, if your uncle's out there like this girl's was, right? Like, I think that's the last person you should be listening to anyway. Like, this dude was a dickhead, so obviously he was not her number one role model in life. And this dude just straight up said something afterward that basically almost cost him his nose. Like, this man's nose almost fell off. We'll get to that part. He said, he was right when he said you're a failure. It's Adam and Eve, not Eve and Eve, you moron. That's pretty much what she said. That's pretty much what he said. So he was asking for what she did next. Like, I don't know why the fuck he thought that was a good idea. So she walked up to Carlos and punched him in the nose as hard as she could. Then this kid just fell to the ground, and it was quite funny. And I'm not gonna lie, he deserved it. And he likes to act all tough, so that obviously wasn't the best look for him. He ran away, and then in the distance she heard, "You'll pay for this." And now obviously she didn't expect much. For the most part, this dude was all talk, and this kid had the IQ of a fucking pencil, so he wasn't gonna do anything. He was kind of built like a pencil too, so she didn't really expect much. But during the weekend, she was just chilling out, and she likes to make videos, but she never really posted them. But it was just for fun, I guess. But she suddenly gets a knock on the door and she went to check it out. And she opens the door and it was Carlos. This dude was literally at her door, strapped in cardboard boxes. I don't know, bro. And this dude just had a knife and a crowbar in the other. Nobody else was home at the time because everybody else in her house had a job. So this kid pushed her to the ground and knocked her out. And finally, she woke up and she was just tied up. Very poorly, but she was still struggling to get free. Now, she didn't really know where she was. She didn't know if it was like his room or something like that, but pretty much she was just stuck and she was struggling to get out. And this kid finally walked in. And this kid took a knife and he said, "Don't make me stab you in the legs." The subscriber had something going on where I guess they didn't feel much pain. Now, I don't know if it was like something in their nervous system, maybe. I'm not 100% positive. That was just the entire point. And then she was like, "Do it then." And then this kid just starts stabbing her in the leg. And Carlos just expected her to just be screaming in pain. But when he finished stabbing her in the leg, she had a bunch of wounds there on her leg. This kid literally he was like, "What the hell? Like, you're a demon." Like, this kid genuinely thought she was like some kind of demon now. I mean, Ava's parents literally thought this girl was like from the depths of hell or some shit. And the funniest part is that Carlos was just like really scared at this point. So she just looked at him with a pretty dark expression and she was just playing along with it. She was like, "Yeah, I am. And your parents sent me down to hunt you down." And at this point, Carlos was shitting bricks. Like, he had no idea what to do. And then she just said, "Carlos, nothing will hurt me." This dude dropped everything and he ran away crying, which was just absolutely hilarious. He also recorded himself because he was planning to kill her and post it. Now, I don't know what the fuck this kid was doing. Like, I genuinely don't understand why he thought that would be a baller social media post. Oh, let me post myself kidnapping and then killing someone. There's genuinely got to be something wrong with this kid. Like, I don't know why the fuck he would do that. But she decided she was just gonna post the video for him. And now she did have to go to the hospital for a bit because of all the wounds. But although the wounds didn't really hurt that much, she still had to get like a bunch of stitches there. But pretty much she found out later on that Carlos basically begged his parents to move, so this way he never had to deal with the subscriber again. But this kid, after that he was just gone for good. But there's more to this story. She took the camera that Carlos was using to film this whole thing. Like, I don't understand why the fuck he was filming this, but anyways, she took the camera and basically she decided to upload the video herself because, well, but this kid Carlos basically was shitting bricks in the video, so she thought, why not post it? But I mean, personally, I wouldn't have posted it just in case like I get more like people threatening me and things like that. I probably would have just stayed safe. But the subscriber decided, fuck it, why not post the video? Now, the video started to get a ton of hate, so she just deleted it. Now, I don't know to what degree it was. I don't know if it was just like people at her school or if it went like pretty viral. I'm not really sure. But of course, his friends still lived in her town, so they weren't very happy. One night, when at this point in the night nobody except her was home, these kids just decided to break into her house and kidnap her again. Now, she wakes up in a small area, and it was a problem because, well, she had claustrophobia, but thankfully she was able to keep herself sane. After a few minutes, these kids barged back into the room and they just started chucking bottles of holy water at her. After that, her skin was just started bleeding out from the glass, and they kind of just all gasped and just stared at her. She started passing out, and she heard one of them was like, "Something tells me that she's not a demon," as she was like slowly passing out. And yeah, no shit. Like, what? You really thought that this girl was a demon? Like, are you fucking stupid? Why the hell would there be a demon sent to attack a motherfucker named Carlos? Like, seriously. Like, I'm just saying, like, that's the last thing that would be happening on planet Earth. Like, I don't know why they genuinely thought she was a demon, but what the fuck? And they're like, "Oh shoot, we fucked up." Which, yeah, you did. Like, you don't say. So they hear the police barge in because apparently one of the kids was actually setting everybody up. Which, good, they definitely should have set them up because they definitely deserved that. And the kid that set everybody up called the cops after they got her into the room. She woke up in the hospital and found out that they got all sent to a juvenile detention center for God knows how long. Moral of the story, don't be a fucking crackhead and maybe you won't get sent to a juvenile detention center. Just saying, bro. But anyways, moving on to the next story. This girl literally said that they got kidnapped, and they basically wanted $1,000 from the subscriber. And this story is got to be one of the most interesting ones I've ever received. But anyways, at the time, the subscriber, he was like 13 or 14. He doesn't really exactly remember. Now, he was in a boy-only school, like for elementary school. But then when he reached high school, so he must have been 14. There was girls, I think over 70% of the students were female. Now, he wasn't simping or nothing. Like, this dude wasn't like on his hands and knees looking for a girlfriend or anything, but he just thought some of the girls were really good looking. He didn't ask any of them out because he was really shy and he was an introvert. And I mean, as a pretty shy and introverted person myself, I mean, I don't know why the fuck I'm doing this, but it is a bit of a struggle, trust me. Now, one day at school, he was in like a computer programming class, and they had some project to do for the class, and he pretty much had to write code and choose a classmate to work on the project with. And there were like 5 boys in the class. 3 of them were nuts, or 5 other boys in the class. 3 of them were nuts, and 2 of them were emo kids. So he didn't really want to be in a group with any of them. He thought that he got to choose his teammate, but the teacher was going to do it. So he really didn't want to be working with like a crazy kid or an emo kid. So he asked the teacher if he could join a group with some of the girls. He asked why, and then he explained to him. Luckily, he agreed. Now, his teammate was a pretty normal girl, which he was pretty chill with. I mean, she wasn't a nerd or a troublemaker or anything like that. They just worked on the project and they got along really well. They were friends for a while, but a month, she asked him out. He agreed because, you know, she seemed like a pretty nice girl. So they were dating for a couple of months and things were going pretty good. Then after a couple of months, she called him and basically said she was really horrified. She said some kidnappers kidnapped her and they wanted $1,000, and he got really suspicious. First, why the hell did she call him out of all people, some kid in high school and not her parents? Second, why did they request such a low number? Usually kidnappers are like, we want 50 grand or we want 100 grand. Like, usually they go for bigger numbers. That's what he was thinking. But he didn't know why on earth he decided to go there. He just looks back on it and just regrets it so much. Like, he thought to himself that it was probably one of the dumbest decisions he's made as a teenager. He asked himself at the time, how on earth am I going to get this 1K? He was saving money to buy a gaming computer at the time. He had around like $700, which is still a big number for him. But he asked his friend if he had spare money because, you know, he needed $300 extra to apparently save his girlfriend at the time. He said, well, I don't have $300, but I have 70, so hopefully that's good enough. But, you know, he takes the $70, he takes the $700 that he already had, and he remembered that his dad had a pistol, so he decided to bring it just in case anything went down. His dad kept it in a safe box, but he knew the code for it. He checked the ammo, and then he went to the location. He felt like he was in like some kind of movie. So he put the money in a duffel bag and went there with the taxi. Now, this man was feeling like James Bond in the moment, like he was ready. So when he got out of the taxi, he found out that the location was in a park. So he got even more suspicious. He searched for a while, and then she ended up seeing her. He went to her and found out it was nothing but a prank. And of course, it was not funny to him because he genuinely thought she was in danger. So, and her friends were also with her. Friends like came out from behind trees and bushes and then just started laughing because they couldn't believe that he actually showed up. Like, well, I don't know what you expect. You tell somebody that you're being kidnapped and you're held for ransom. Obviously, they're gonna show up. They don't want anything bad to happen to you. The first logical thing people would think is, why would they lie about that? Like, I think that's the first thing people would think. And he just went home in disbelief at the fact that this whole thing was just some kind of sick prank. And he just went home and he was really pissed when he got home, of course, because it was the hardest hours of his life. Like, he was ready to drop a rack just to save her, and he had a gun in his pocket. Like, what kind of prank was that? Like, seriously. But then she just apologized and they kind of just solved it out. But he still hates that day. I mean, they're chill now, but he still just can't believe that happened. But anyways, that's it for the story. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these. And well, if you did, I have a bunch of stories on my channel.